Welcome to CoatingsCast, the ultimate podcast dedicated to the science, art, and innovation of liquid and fluid applied roofing, coatings for surfaces, and waterproofing. It's time to roll up our sleeves, put on our lab coats, and dive headfirst into the world of liquid protection that keeps your roofs and surfaces in prime condition. The future is here, and it's liquid, so don't miss out. This is CoatingsCast, where every drop counts in the world of roof and surface protection.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CoatingsCast from coatingscoffeeshop.com. My name is Karen Edwards, and today's episode is going to be talking all about putting an end to ponding water. And joining me for this conversation is Jay Mitchell from Progressive Materials. Jay, welcome.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So, Jay, for those listening, could you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do at Progressive Materials, and maybe tell us about your background?
Sure. So, my title, I guess, is Director of Technical Services. That kind of encompasses all things spec related, TDSs, application rates, from tools to apply the coating, all the way to warranties and warranty terms. Um, Primarily, I guess my job is to mitigate liability for us and the contractor. Want to make sure that they're our spec and our expectations. So at the end of the day, we have a good partnership with them, and we don't have any problems or anything rears its ugly head in the future on it. So yeah, I guess I started roofing probably back in the late '90s, from anywhere from Torchtown, the kettle in the parking lot, so to speak, all the way to the cold road, and then spent a majority of the roofing and spray foam industry and silicone and acrylic coatings. I guess primarily that stretch was about 2002 to 2015, 2016. And 2016, I joined Progressive Materials, was managing the plant, production, a little bit of shipping. And then in 2022, got over to the technical side of things. And we had a guy that used to man that post. He kind of went on to bigger and better things, and I took that role over.
Nice. Yeah.
So, yep.
A nice long background in the industry. So you've dealt with your share of ponding water, right?
I've dealt with, that and a lot of other problems, but yeah, ponding water is one that typically is one of the easier ones to spot. Um, can be one of the harder ones to mitigate if you don't know how to do it. But a lot of times it's, you when you're doing your pre-trips or you're bidding the job and walking it, um, there's little telltale signs, clues that you can tell where ponding is or what's going to give you some trouble.
Well,
So,
let's talk about that because, I mean, obviously, if there's water there, it is obvious, right? Like, oh, I see it. Maybe there was just a rain event a few days ago. But what if it's dry? What are some of those things that you look for to identify those areas that are more susceptible?
well, it depends on what substrate it is, but typically it's going to be the same for most of them. When you're walking it, if you notice any kind of dirty areas, really kind of sediment settled in it. Um, Visually, sometimes been in the industry for a while, you could tell just by looking down things where low areas are. But the telltale signs would be, sediment, kind of dirt really settled out in some areas, staining of the roof, um, leaves that's kind of ponded up or gathered around in those areas. Those are the telltale signs. I don't know anybody in the industry to go up there with a transit and kind of shoot elevations, but you're going to have your bird baths here and there, puddles and stuff. But what constitutes ponding in the industry is 100 square feet at a half inch in depth, 48 hours after a rain. So a lot of times you're never there right after it rains. In a perfect world, you'd want to be there, when you're looking at a roof or potentially bidding on it while it's raining or right thereafter. You go in, you kind of introduce yourself. Hey, can you give me a tour? Where's your leaks at? Kind of note those areas. So when you are on the roof, you can kind of pace that off or go to those areas. Um, Another case too is I always like to know when I was on, roofs, stuff like that, before I get on them, I want to know what I'm walking on. So if it is leaking a lot, quite a bit, you know, you want to see for any degraded roof decking, wood, metal. Want to make sure I've had some friends in the industry fall through roofs, and it's not a pretty sight. So you want to make sure everything's safe and sound before you're on it.
Yeah.
Um, but then, obviously when you get that done and you get a number of the leaks, you can go up, and that will tell usually where your ponding areas are. Obviously where water's sitting, there's a greater chance of it leaking in those areas as it is, on a kind of a middle slope or some where you got good drainage. Typically you don't have problems in those areas.
Yeah, so what causes, water to pond?
Well, a number of things. Age for one. Um, Well, sometimes you can get, older roofs like tar and gravel roofs or smooth surface built ups. A lot of those, you're pushing 40 or 50 years at. They have a tectum or a gypsum decking, which over the years, you might get a little bit of water saturation in there. Those areas tend to have compressed insulation that will hold water, meaning it kind of sinks the roof down. Um, you could have, deflection in the deck, and once ponding starts, water is almost 8 pounds a gallon, plus when you freeze and thaw as well, that can be a considerable amount of weight there that is still compressing on that whatever decking you might have, causing more deflection, and eventually, if it is leaking, I mean, it could be, it could rot through and actually collapse. I've been on a few of those as well, with snow load, on ponding roofs before in wintertime, so that's
Yeah,
usually what it is, though. You've either got poor application where your roof is leaking that causes, insulation or decking to compress or deflect, or just simply age, where you've got, a roof that's really pushed past its lifetime. An owner might be trying to kick the can down the road as far as they can, and really, unknowingly, causing more damage than good.
right, yeah,
Yep.
don't delay, right?
Yeah, don't delay.
It's not leaking that bad, well,
Yeah, well, I mean, you say that's funny, but unfortunately, you can blame it on an election year or whatever. But a lot of projects have been on delay by owners. They just don't want to spend their money, so they're trying to nurse it. Right? They're trying to do maintenance
right,
and repairs instead of redoing their roofs. Because really, the way the market is kind of trending right now, there's still a lot of uncertainty out there until Q2 of next year. So
right,
they're trying to be
yeah.
smart with their money.
So, if a contractor is, called out to address, ponding water issues, let's talk about the solution, SL 851 that
hmm
Progressive Material offers.
Yep.
What is that? How does it work?
It's a pretty neat little product, lightweight. I think it's less than 25 pounds a bucket, but essentially what you would do is, um, it's in a 5-gallon pail. You take the lid off. You'll notice there is a bag inside of it. You pull the bag out. Inside that bag, you'll find tiny little white, styrofoam polystyrene beads, EPS, and a lot of ground up recycled EPDM rubber. Um, that's kind of the filler base. We have 2 options. You either have a urethane pouch inside there that you can open up and mix as your adhesive, or if you're on a silicone coated roof or, previously coated silicone, bucket of that to pour in there. So you pour those together, you mix those up by hand. You can actually put it in a bucket if you wanna do it with a mixer. It's really not needed. Use that bag with the filler in it, pour the silicone or urethane in it. Mix it up, knead the bag nice and neat, and you can kind of roll the bag around and see what dry fillers, if there's any dry left, you can wet those out. Wherever you're wanting to put it, make sure that area is clean and dry. And then you simply dump that in there and you take a trowel and tamp it down, trowel it out. I've seen guys go down with like almost like concrete with screed boards. They'll kind of just level it off from the high points. And you want to feather your edges out, and 24 hours later, you're coating it. Pretty simple process, not a lot, but truly is innovative and pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, so talk about the different types of roofs. That is it good for any existing roof?
Yeah, you can put it on concrete, you can put it on mod bits, single plies. One little neat kind of niche area you can put it in. Say you've got a um, sloped metal roof. Somebody had put curbs in for vents, but they actually exceeded the flat of the pan where it goes past the profiles, where water would come down and get trapped behind that. You can actually up and you could pour that in there up to the top and almost like angle it down or water. And you've essentially created a cricket behind that, or a taper package, so to speak, where water would come down, hit, and drain off the sides of that. So yeah, you can use it on multiple substrates.
Wow. And you mentioned that there's an option for if it's a roof that's been coated with silicone, because once it's got silicone, it always is going to
E-
need silicone, right?
Exactly. Nothing sticks to silicone but silicone. Unless going forward, in the future, there's a bunch of MS or hybrid technologies that'll stick to silicone, but currently, right now, there's not a lot out there. But so yeah, if you're on just a normal roof, say like you're doing your pre-trip or you're bidding this roof, and it might be a rubber roof or it could be say it's a TPO roof, and you notice in the cricket lines there's water settling and or in front of your scuppers. Or even maybe some drain sumps, right? That's got some compressed material in it, or you notice that could potentially be ponding. Um, you can identify those when you're doing your takeoffs, and include that 851 in there. That way, you're getting your approximate square footage for how many buckets you're going to need, and get those clean and dry while you're doing the repair phase of the roof. Everybody thinks the silicone coating, is the waterproofing of it, which it does have waterproof benefits, but really that roof should not leak before you put that coating on. It should be watertight before you actually install the coating over it. Um,
Yeah. So, what can the final coating over top of it be? Can that be either silicone or acrylic?
it just depends on what you mix it with. So if you're mixing it with urethanes, then yes, you can go over with an acrylic or urethane coating. If you're mixing it obviously with silicone, you're stuck with silicone coating over it.
Right. Wow. So it's interesting to me that it's recycled EPDM.
Yeah, yeah.
I always like to know the story if you can share without giving away, internal secrets. But what? Who said, I bet EPDM would be really good if we mixed it up?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's with urethane and silicone, I mean, they're both great adhesives, right? So you can pretty much throw everything or anything inside that to be a filler. I mean, um, in total transparency, I mean, we've used in the phase of this thing anywhere from glass beads all the way to granules, ceramic granules, to try to get the fillers in there right. The problem is with glass beads or say granules is the weight. You
Yeah.
you could go from anywhere from 45 pounds to half that weight to you know live just right under 25 pounds a bucket. So super light, easy to work with. Um, you don't really need a rod or a mixing rod to mix it up. So everything's super light.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
yeah,
um I did find a video online before we hopped on this podcast, and I
yep.
watched your colleague demonstrate, and it looked kind of fun actually. And it reminded me of, here's your cake mix, add your egg and water and stir it up. And
That's you're
yeah, I'm
you're exactly
curious,
right.
how long does it, like, do you have to use it all once it's mixed? Can you put a lid on? Will it keep for a while?
Uh, Unfortunately, no. So, but you do have the benefit of once you'll have to dabble around with a few buckets of it first to get kind of where you get an idea of a coverage rate, right? I mean, because every coverage can be different: quarter inch, 1 inch thick, inch and a half.
Right.
Um, but if you got it down and you've messed with a few pails of this stuff, you can get that coverage rate, kind of a mental picture of what it's going to take. So technically, you could take the pouch, urethane or silicone, and maybe just use half of the fillers and half of the adhesive. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, you don't have to use the whole bag, and you can. reuse or open and close the urethane and silicone. You will get a little skin on the silicone in the 1 gallon pail, but that's typical. Once you've opened it, you've let the nitrogen out, so to speak, and
Yeah.
let air in. But you just peel that skin off the top and just pour it back in there on any unused EPDM and styrene beads, and you can just mix it back up, pour it, and use it. So yeah,
Yeah. Okay, and, also it said it can go up to 4 inches
yeah. I
thick?
mean, we've done a lot of trials. I've actually used about 22 buckets on one roof that was a TPO, but it was previously coated in silicone. The contractor kind of obviously didn't know that he was missing some low areas, and that it worked perfect over that. We power washed the roof. We got it nice and clean, and got it put down. You can use this with the urethane stuff. It kind of goes, but the 4 inch, what I did, I took a 4x8 sheet of plywood that had 4 inches of spray foam on it that we were mimicking blister repairs. And I think that's actually one of the videos, maybe Jeff, you saw Jeff online kind of hammering
Mhm.
with the hammer. But yeah, that was about 18 inches in diameter, 4 inches thick. We mixed up a little over half a bucket, um, trialed that stuff in, compressed it real good, and let it sit. And it was totally cured in 24 hours. And then we did test pulls with acrylic over it, which exceeded 12 pounds of pull for adhesion on acrylic. And we did low solid and high solid pulls with silicone over it. And we exceeded 7 to about 11 pounds of pull
Wow.
on that. So, the minimum industry standard is 2 pounds.
Yeah.
And we smoked that out of the water, and we got great cohesive failure as well. So
Nice.
once the
So
product is stuck together, it's actually stuck. It doesn't spall off or kinda rub off, which you'll notice too in the video where Jeff's taking a claw hammer and hitting it with the
yeah.
claws, and you couldn't
Yeah.
break it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Strong stuff.
for sure. I'm just curious about, what if there is wet insulation or what if there is, how do you know that this is okay as long as I clean it? What should a contractor do?
Well, so for our warranties, first of all, you have to be a CLA or a certified licensed applicator to get in our program. But after that, once you're in, you understand our expectations. And to apply for warranties, we require adhesion tests and moisture surveys, right? So you could go up, you could core the roof in kind of suspect areas. First of all, to see, okay, how many roofs does it have on it? What decking type, if you can't get in the building, which you should be able to get in the building before you're even on the roof. That's always something I always try to do at all costs. That way I know what I'm walking on. That'll tell you the thickness of the roof. And if it is wet, okay, I've got to go back with, what thickness of material to bring that up flush to eliminate, right? Or go ahead and not worry about ponding water. It also gives me the length of my screws. What mechanical fasteners, how long do I need to get that stuff fastened back down to the deck? But there's also infrared scans. You can do thermal with flare guns. You can do capacitance, which is essentially a capacitance meter. It measures the hydrogen molecules down into the roof at a certain depth. There is another one that's called a nuclear scan.
Ooh.
I'm not too involved in that. We do use a third party on some of those, or we refer IR analyzers
Right.
to some of our contractors. They're a great company to work for and have satellite stores or locations all over the United States, and they do have all that technology, and everyone that does it is certified. Um, yeah, they're a great company to partner up with as well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
probably most likely will be at IRE. So if you ever get a chance, swing by there, and if Mike Coffey's there, get with him. He can explain a lot in specific detail
Yeah.
what they do on a lot of occasions. So, nice little jab there for our analyzers, but they're a
Oh,
good partner
yeah.
to work with.
No, that's great. Having good partners is really important.
Yep.
So let's talk. You mentioned IRE. We're recording this. It's mid-December
Hmm.
2025, almost Christmas. And that means IRE is just over a month away.
Yep.
And you guys are going to be having that product there. Are you going to be doing demos? Talk a little bit about what's happening there.
Yeah, well, we always demo quite a few things. The RP300, which is our hybrid urethane silicone repair sealant. We'll be demoing that for sure. Um, we've actually taken some of the 851, and Jeff, being the guy that he is, he's actually made up like almost, I guess, some racquetball sized balls because this stuff bounces just like a racquetball. So
Oh
I'm
my
sure we'll get
goodness.
I'm sure we'll get in trouble with those out there.
I saw that in one of the videos. Somebody threw him the ball, and I
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh."
We've hit them with bats and everything. Stuff doesn't come apart. It's crazy. Like I said, I'm sure there'll be some trouble to be had with those. We always we have our flashing grade out there. We three course some things over different substrates. So I'm sure we'll be having some metal roof profiles to demo product on. Um, and we always have a good giveaway trip. Last year was the hog hunt, or the helicopter hog hunt, which one of our contractors um, won. We had a little shooting gallery up there with Nerf guns, and being in San Antonio, right in the heartbeat of big country, that went over really well.
Oh, yeah.
And
Wait, so
uh,
where's the helicopter come in? That means you take a helicopter
well,
to get out to where you're gonna hunt?
you literally hunt out of the helicopter.
Out of the
That's
helicopter.
yeah, it was something crazy they did last year. This year, I think we've got, I think we're giving away a fishing trip. Um, and I'm not sure. I guess that's going to depend on what part of the country the contractor's in. That could be lake, river fishing, or it could be maybe some ocean fishing, deep sea stuff. I'm
Wow.
not, our marketing, before the big reveal at IRE, they're kind of hush hush about a lot of things. So,
Right.
but we always give good trips out, and
You
we always
do.
have some neat games to kind of get in there and draw people in. And I think this year it's some kind of football throwing accuracy game to get, to be able to kind of throw your ticket in for the fishing trip. But again, it's the marketing guys, they're pretty, mum about a lot of things. So,
Sure,
yeah.
sure, yeah. Yeah, I know that there's always lots of people in your booth at the shows, and,
Hmm.
we've been by, several times, and they sure do love those, skill challenges that you put out there.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Alright, so, for maybe a contractor is listening today and they're not gonna be at IRE. I don't know why they wouldn't go, but how can they find out more about 851 and the other products that Progressive Materials has?
Just our website. That's what I always kind of pound into their sales reps and all the contractors. pmsilicone.com. We have just follow the tabs up. If you hover over the resources tab, drop down to technical. That is kind of the gospel of all things related, TDS, SDS related explanations for all of our products. Our bread and butter products like 3200, flashing grade, FG, 401, all the way down to ancillary products. So usually about 99% of the questions that you'll have on products, all you have to do is just pull that website up, cruise through it, and you'll find it. Everything on it is downloaded. You can download off of it, print it, keep for yourself. Pretty transparent stuff. So, yeah, pmsilicone.com. There's links on there to find, what region you're in, to find your sales rep for that region as well. You want numbers, or just kind of maybe you're like, hey, I'd like to be involved or be a partner with them. That's your first step right there.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna ask if somebody wants to get certified or
Yep.
get trained, they should find their local rep.
Find their local rep, and then they can connect the dots, and eventually the road will lead to me, Jeff, or John. We're the trainers, and
Yeah.
we'll get them, trained up and get out there. We fly to them. We do have a nice facility here, in good old small town New Albany, but most of the time it's not feasible for West Coast or East Coast guys. So
Right.
what we'll do is, hey, you want to learn, you got projects lined up, you have a facility, let us know, give us the address, we'll fly to you, and that's where we'll conduct the training.
Yeah, yeah. Make it easy, right?
Yep. As
For
easy as we
sure.
can.
Well, Jay, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing all this fantastic information about SL
Mhm.
851 and ponding water. Learned a lot today.
Yep.
And for those of you, like I said, that aren't going to be at IRE, can't get by the booth, pmsilicone.com. Progressive Materials also has a full directory on the coffee shops. So you can head on over to Coatings Coffee Shop. You can find their directory, links to how to contact them, and all the information about what's going to be happening at the upcoming shows. Thanks for listening today. We encourage you to subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast platform because we want to see you on a future episode. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this coding adventure. Stay tuned for more episodes, and in the meantime, be sure to follow us on social media to stay updated with all things roof coatings. Until next time, stay coded. For more information, go to coatingscoffeeshop.com.